Welcome to Keep It Pro Training Call, brought to you by Networking Wisdom, featuring Ramasio Fulcher. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Monique, and I'm your host for today. Ramasio is the creator of Networking Wisdom, and the reason for this call each and every Sunday for over 3.5 years at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. On this call, you will learn the skills to be successful in network marketing, and in life. Ramasio Fulcher is a well-respected international leader, coach, trainer, and he's a much sought-after mentor. He is highly successful and an entrepreneur with over 750,000 people globally in his network and has accomplished over $1 billion in sales. That's right, $1 billion with a B in sales. Please get ready and to get empowered. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in for a special treat. I have the pleasure of introducing to you a top earner and a top leader. He's a top 50 worldwide earner in MLM. At a tender age of just 25 years young, Ramasio earned his first $1 million. He's now a multimillionaire and has helped countless individuals. This man knows how to make money, and he knows how to make money fast. What we all like most about him is his love for God and mankind. He enjoys having fun and sharing his wisdom. A millionaire mentor, coach of coaches, and leader of leaders. Without further ado, I introduce to some and present to others our mentor and friend, the California Kid, Mr. Ramasio Fulcher. Ramasio, are you with us?
Absolutely. I am here. Can you hear me, Monique?
Loud and clear, yes.
All righty. Thank you so much for being our host once again. I want to welcome everybody back to another edition of the Keep It Pro Training Call. Guys, I am excited to dive into the series that we've been doing for the last 4 weeks now. 4 weeks. We've been on this one specific topic. It's been phenomenal. If this is your first time joining us, I highly want to encourage you to go back and re-listen to all of the replays, because literally this is part 5 of a series entitled I Am a Master Builder. It is so appropriate, so fitting for where we are in our world today. It is so awesome to be able to hear from different leaders about mastery as the world is changing and things, in my opinion, will not go back to being the same. It is important for all of us to really understand, what does it take to master something? What does it take to master something? So if this is your first time, we welcome you with open arms. If you're back for another edition, we're glad to have you back. What I'm going to do, guys, is we're going to jump right on in to the topic at hand. I've got a special guest here for you today, someone I have a tremendous amount of respect for, someone that definitely has earned the right to talk about mastery. And so let me get out of the way, and I'm going to kind of do a little interview style here of our special guest. But before I bring him on, I want to give you a quick little understanding of who this gentleman is. This gentleman definitely is someone that everyone of you needs to know. He's in his early 40s. He is the CEO of Aura Lifestyle. We'll tell you a little bit more about that a little later. But he also is the president of Nevada Bank. So the gentleman that you're getting ready to hear from is also the president of a bank over in London. I happen to be one of his banking customers, so it's really, really cool. But someone that really is calling all the way in from the UK over there in London. I know it's about 8 hours ahead of where we are here in California, but someone who's achieved a high degree of success. I'm talking millions upon millions and millions of dollars that he's been able to earn. But it's not just the money that makes him really awesome. He's absolutely down to earth. He's a lot of fun. He's someone that really, really, really loves to help people. And most of all, what I love most about him, he's very humble. So it brings me great pleasure to bring on the line with us Chris Scanlon. Chris, did you get a chance to make it on the call?
Absolutely, Ramas. I wouldn't miss it, man.
Man, well, thank you for being here. I know it must be just a little after midnight over there in London. Actually, no, what is it, 2 in the morning there?
No, just midnight, man, 12:05.
Midnight. Well, thanks for staying up. I really appreciate it, man. And, Chris, if you don't mind, just give us just a 60-second background just about yourself so all the listeners that are listening abroad and those that will listen to the replay just kind of know a little quick story about yourself.
Man, a quick story about me. I don't know if I can do anything that quick, buddy, but no, it's great to be with you. I think, probably just the useful things for everyone to share is, I've been on this journey called life, which we all have, and it's taken its twists and turns, and you kind of learn some things along the way. You get knocked down, but important thing is you get back up again, and we've learned a lot of really great things. I mean, I started out with digital marketing way back when the internet was first getting going. I was a multimillionaire by the time I was 25, and learned what it was really like to put myself in the customer's shoes and really understand like what was important to them as opposed to what my own opinion was about things. And as a result of that, it's really become an ethos of how we do things. And some of those twists and turns, you end up in something like banking, because I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning when they're a kid and says, man, I can't wait till I get older so I can be a banker. But definitely grateful for the journey, and grateful to be able to share some of my learnings with everyone on the call today.
Well, once again, man, I'm so glad that you're on. And Chris, if you don't mind, let's kind of jump right on in, man. We've been doing it, like I said, we've been doing this call for about the last 4 weeks, and we started this series talking about I am a master builder. And we've covered everything from the spiritual attribute of mastering something. And now we're kind of getting into specific live examples, starting off with someone like yourself, that if you don't mind, take us back on the journey. I mean, obviously I look at you as someone that has been able to master your craft. Obviously, you know, I kind of talked a little bit about you in the beginning in terms of you owning the Aura Lifestyle brand, and then also being the president of an actual bank. And as you just said moments ago, that wasn't something that, you know, was typically a goal of yours to kind of end up in banking. But what we'd like for this 45 minutes that we'll be on the call is, what we're looking for is what tips can we pull away as we're trying to master whatever it is. On this call, Chris, you've got thousands of people that'll listen to the replay, and you got everything from doctors to CEOs down to people who are just starting out in their journey in marketing. And so what all of us are coming here for is just to kind of glean from you, what are some tips that we can extract and that we can apply on our journey towards mastery. And so as you and I, we're just going to free flow this thing. I've kind of got about 3 areas that I'm going to be picking you for. Number 1 is mindset and belief. Number 2 is daily habits. And then thirdly, what's your special sauce? And so we're kind of, over the next 40 minutes, we're going to dive into those 3 categories from you to see what we can go ahead and kind of take away from you and apply to our own lives.
Yeah, it's going to be a great conversation, man. So I'll dive right in. Look, I think from a mindset and belief perspective, I would say that one of the key things is that, at least for me, throughout my entire life, has been not listening to the naysayers. There's a lot of people who love you. Like, I know my parents loved me, and I remember my dad always telling me that I had these delusions of grandeur, you know. And it wasn't that my dad was trying to be negative on my dreams or anything like that. It's just that no one in our family had really spread their wings to the extent that I felt like I wanted to spread my wings. And, you know, let's go the safe route. You know, let's go to college. And my family had gone to college later in life. Both my parents went back to get their degrees well after high school when they already had their careers. My dad was a postman. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and so they were going to school well into my early teens to try and finish up that post-secondary education. So it was always go to school first, then get a job, then work your way up so that you can have that safety and security in life. And it was just kind of one of those interesting things where I wasn't willing to have that kind of life. I wanted to have my own dream, and I wanted to live my own dream. And my parents and those around me, they loved me, but they also were trying to push me down this other safe path, what they thought was safe. And I'm so grateful that I was stubborn enough to not listen. And one of the things I would say along those same lines is not just the people that love you, that may be trying to steer you down a particular path towards safety, but it could be others that just, you know, for whatever reason, they just don't have that same positive outlook towards what their future can be. And so as you're sharing things with acquaintances or with other people, whether it's, you know, an opportunity that you've got in front of you or a business that you want to dive into or a career path you want to take or engage in, you're going to have naysayers. And it's important to listen to that inner voice inside of you that tells you that you're truly capable of accomplishing anything and everything out there. And so with that in mind, we started out, I say we, but I started out in digital marketing. Like I said, I bought and sold, or sold a couple of companies, 3 companies by the time I was 25 years old, digital marketing agencies, so things that pertain to online marketing in particular. And this was before even Facebook came into the scene. I still have a small marketing business. It's a great little business for us. We do lead generation for the continuing education space of all things. But we had this idea about 9 years ago to create an ultra exclusive, ultra elite membership that people want to sign up for because it would be very exclusive. Where
Chris, you're breaking up just a little bit.
Is that any better?
Okay, that's much better. There you go, right there.
Okay, buddy. Okay. Yeah. So it was meant to be this ultra exclusive membership, where literally, I mean, like the very first member that we ever had was one of the top professional boxers in the world. He insisted on being the first, and some of you might be able to guess who that is. But long story short is, when we first came up with the idea of creating this solid gold card and then offering these exclusive benefits around it, people kind of laughed at us. They're like, well, Amex already has that Centurion card, the titanium card. Why does somebody need a solid gold card? And so it was interesting, again, coming back to the naysayers, right? The people who look at you and say, man, that idea sounds crazy. Why would you ever do that? And the reality is this, is that, that was the start of something really big for us, because it really helped us get focused in on driving what I would consider to be real value, tangible value back to every single one of our customers. And it's parlayed, if you will, into a lot of other opportunities as well, to where now we have more mass market products. But Aura Lifestyle is kind of how it all began. We have a patent on the solid gold card, and for those of you who want maybe some entertaining pictures to look at, you can see some of the designs that our members over the years have selected for their cards when they've allowed us to share. But everything we do is fully bespoke. So we don't define how someone benefits from the membership. The actual member does. And as long as it's legal, we'll help people do all the things that matter to them in a very compliant, regulated, legal way. And so one thing I will say is, in the beginning, we were very confident that people were just going to love our idea so much of this gold card, a bespoke gold card. So much so that we named the company AU Card LLC, and AU being the periodic symbol for gold. And by the time we got to market, we had people starting to ask us this question of, like, what is it that, like, what else comes with this card that's cool, but what else is there? And that's where we really had to ask ourselves the question, oh my goodness, like, did we do a good enough job of listening to our customers and really taking that feedback in and internalizing it and developing something that could give some of that real tangible value back? So mindset and belief, just bringing that in full circle. Dreams don't just end unless we stop paying attention to them. So always pay attention to your dream. Have your focus be there every single day, every single moment. Like I said, you're going to have people naysay on you and talk negatively, but keep your focus and your where it needs to be on that dream, and stay positive about it, because it will happen. You just got to stay focused. You got to stay consistent.
Well, Chris, let me jump in there if you don't mind, because you gave us just a whole bunch right there, which I'm grateful for. Wow. First of all, it starts off with your parents. It sounds like are great people, traditional, and you just wanted to have a much better life beyond what you saw that they had. And so the first thing you said there, as I was taking notes, is you just didn't listen to any of the naysayers. But if you take us back to the beginning, did you always know way back when that you were going to become mega multi-millionaire? Was that a goal, or was your goal just, I just want to be successful?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I grew up in Miami and in the 80s, so the cocaine cowboy era, and it was a really interesting time because Miami was a city in transition. You had so much money coming into the city. There were Lamborghinis and Ferraris and yachts and all the things that you would think that would come with a lot of money that was there in the city. And as a kid, like, you see these things and you love them, and obviously they had the show Miami Vice, and it looked really cool, as they were driving the Ferrari Testarossa around Miami area. And so it was always like, wow, I want to be able to do that one day. I want to have that one day. And I think that where a lot of people get hung up, Maz, is they get hung up with the how, right? Because nobody wakes up, like I mentioned, one morning and they have all of the answers of how to get there, right? I mean, I don't. I still don't to this day. My team asks me, what's the direction that we're heading? And I'm like, well, let's see what the day brings us, and I'll tell you. And so again, like, my parents, they did the best they could. I mean, I would say that I was lower middle class. It was a treat to go to McDonald's on a Sunday, get a hamburger. If not, it was mom's cooking every day, or leftovers, which wasn't bad. It was just, mom's cooking. So, but I learned a lot of really good things from that, just from a work ethic perspective, that gave me that ability to know how, when the opportunity came, the effort that I could put into it. Man, my parents taught me some good things there. So to answer your question, did I always know I would have a different life? Yes, I always knew I'd have a different life. I didn't know how I was going to get there, though.
Got it. So with that, you talked about you had sold a couple of companies, digital marketing companies, before you were 25. So obviously you sound like a wonder boy right there. I mean, just even, selling your first company, let alone two of them before the age of 25 is really impressive. And so take us down this path, Chris, of just, all right, so we kind of got an idea of what your mindset was, but just give us some broad strokes of, like, what were some daily habits that you had back then that if you were to draw a thin line to where you are now, again, broad strokes, what are some habits, daily habits that you had then that you still have now that you've noticed that no matter where you find yourself, this is, a couple of habits or so that Chris Scanlon is always going to find himself doing?
That's a great question, man. So, I grew up in a pretty religious household, and one of the things, and people can call it prayer or meditation, but one of the things that we were always taught to do is to pray and to meditate. And so today I still meditate. I don't necessarily pray like I used to, but for me it was always about, I spend that time in meditation, just creating peace and clarity within myself. There's a lot of noise out there. And I think that for a lot of people, we're all pulled in a million different directions. And I really try and center myself every single day, in the morning and throughout the day, just be at my center and to come from a place of just peace. And from there, I know I can do pretty much anything that I want to accomplish in the day.
How long do you spend praying and meditating?
I mean, some days it's different, right? I mean, some days, I'm waking up to my phone going crazy, and I have to come back to it a little bit later. But, on the average, I would say, probably a couple of minutes here and there on an aggregate, maybe 15, 20 minutes a day.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's one of the habits that you would say. Is there any other habits that you would kind of attribute, your success to?
For sure. I would say the other one, and I've talked about this a little bit as well, is you got to stay positive. There's a silver lining to everything. And, a lot of times we want to be so quick to act. And one of the things that I've learned over the years, and that I've been pretty consistent with, is working to be patient within myself. Right? I talk about peace, right? How do I get to that place of peace? Because the answers will always show up. Right? And I think that our natural human condition is when we feel vulnerable, We want to take action right now. We want that pain to go away. We want that confusion gone. Whatever has us off of our center, we want it gone. And we're super eager to take action, whether it's pushing people away or doing any one of those things. And I've just been a big believer over my lifetime now. Not like it's been an incredibly long life yet, and I look forward to many more years. But basically, just being patient and letting the answers show up so that I don't have to worry about when to take action. Because when the right things appear, everybody can recognize what those are. And everybody can get their energy behind those things 100%. And the outcomes are way better than what I could have originally thought that my action in that moment where I felt vulnerable needed to be to help solve for that problem. So I've learned over the years to get better and better at this, is just to be patient, to allow the world or the universe or whatever to bring the answers to me, as opposed to me trying to always have the answers for everything.
Got it. Chris, I know that you're a big family man. One of the things I love about you, if you were talking to your children, and let's just say they were somewhere between 15 and 18 years old, and you're talking to them about being a master builder, whatever it is that they decide to build, their health, their family, their finances, businesses, whatever. How would you define being a master builder? I'm just curious, what would your definition be, and what kind of, again, broad strokes would you give to them in terms of going forward to master something?
I love that question. My kids are young still. They're not quite that age. I mean, my oldest she'll be 10 next month. But we already have these kinds of conversations in our house today, and it's great. It's great to be able to have some of that dialogue with them, because they're experiencing things when they go to school. Like tomorrow, school starts for my daughters out here in the UK, and even amidst this COVID stuff, they're still going back to school. But it's interesting because, again, like we live, for those of you who are parents, and this is at least how I feel, it's almost like we live our lives all over again as our kids begin to experience a lot of the things that we went through when we were kids ourselves. And, as my oldest comes home and tells me about things and different experiences that she's having, I have to just kind of remind myself of okay, this is how I reacted when I was her age, or a little bit older, or maybe not too long ago. Here's how I would prefer to have acted. So I'm going to give you just a quick example, and it falls along the lines of being a master builder, because mastery touches every part of our lives, not just a singular part of our life. And so what had happened was I had just gotten back from a trip over in the Middle East, and I was putting her to bed, and she came and just kind of cuddled up next to me, and she said, "Daddy, some of the kids at school aren't that nice to me." And she goes to a really nice private school, and I'm like, "Oh man, those horrible little kids! I'm gonna go basically beat the crap out of their parents, for being bad examples to them." And interestingly, I had this moment where I asked myself within, like, how do I respond to her? And immediately the words that came to me, which I felt were great wisdom, were tell her that those kids who are being mean have basically forgotten that they're wonderful. And in that moment, like you could tell, like she had like this aha, and I told her that her job was just to help remind them that they are wonderful. That they may have forgotten a little bit, but just to remind them. Because when you react with anger, when someone gets angry at you and you react with anger, more anger comes. So you always have to, coming back to self-mastery, you always have to rise above the problem. You cannot solve a problem at the level that it's been created, ever, ever, ever. And so when it comes to self-mastery, once again, the thing I would just share is you have to rise above the problem itself. And one of my favorite quotes is from Gandhi. He says, "Be the change that you want to experience or see in the world today. Don't wait for somebody else to change. Don't wait for the circumstances to change. You change. Rise above. Change who you are. Change your perspective. Change your emotion and how you feel about that circumstance and watch what happens, right? And so, anything that you think about, like if you have a goal that's in front of you that you want to achieve, whether it's becoming a multimillionaire, a billionaire, a great wife or a great husband or a great father or mother, whatever your goals may be, look at who you are today. Love who you are today no matter what. Remind yourself of how wonderful you already are. Change your energy around that situation, your emotion around that situation, and then watch and see what happens. The best of things will always happen. That's been my experience, at least.
No, that was really well said, Chris. From that answer, it kind of dovetails me into my next question, which is talk about character of mastery. When we think of mastery, becoming the best at something, there's always that little devil of maybe I can cut some corners, maybe I can cheat, maybe I can, maybe like I said, maybe I can cut a few corners. Maybe if somebody pays me X amount of money to kind of take the shortcut, I can get there a little faster. Talk about character from your perspective, because that's one of the things I'm very impressed with about you.
Yeah, you're so kind. Well, thanks, man. I mean, look, I would say this is that, my dad would always tell me this thing. And there were two sayings he would always tell me. He would say, son, Rome wasn't built in a day, which I'm sure we've already heard that. And then he would tell me this other thing about, say, son, if you want to be a bank robber, go and hang around with bank robbers. And as a 13-year-old kid, they look at my dad and think, you are so dumb. Like, why are you telling me this, right? And but now that I'm older, like, it actually makes total sense. And when we talk about the things that you're bringing to the forefront right now, Miles, in these discussions, look at who you're spending your time with, because that's who you're going to become, right? Or you're going to become more like. And I think about again, like the fact that so many people do take shortcuts. Well, if you're hanging around a bunch of people that feel like that's okay, you're going to start feeling like that's okay as well. And it's important that if you want to maintain a level of integrity with the things that you do, that you'll find people that value things the same as you do. And that was always one of the messages that my dad wanted to tell me is, hey, find people that value things the same way you do and build with them, right? Your life will happen to you. It will, right? Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So ultimately, if you think about, again, I would say that the temptation is man, if you just do this one little thing, then it's not a big deal. No one will find out, or it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, what really matters is that you can say wholeheartedly, and we have a saying here in the UK, it's hand on heart, that yes, you've done things to a level that is a firm foundation, that is strong, that can never be shaken. And what's interesting about that is, again, like the world wants instant results, right? Like we have a need right now where somebody has, we see them in a nice house or in a nice car and a nice vacation, and we want to do those things too. And we think, man, okay, well, what do I need to do right now to be able to achieve that? And my advice to anyone would be, yes, are there shortcuts you can take? For sure. But there are shortcuts that are the ones that knowledge empowers, right? And there are the shortcuts that will basically degrade people's principles and beliefs, right? And enough of those things over time, people become desensitized, and we have people who are willing to do whatever it takes to be successful. And I really believe that everybody can win in a relationship. There doesn't have to be any losers, right? There doesn't have to be somebody who has to, lose money or lose anything as a result of doing business with you or being involved with you in some way. But everybody should be able to win together. And I go back to, what we were talking about before, if your focus is on everybody being able to win and all your relationships being accretive, like, almost like the rising tide lifting all the boats, right? Then great, because winning looks different to everybody. It's not a competition. And there's plenty of abundance out there for everyone to get exactly what they want in this life. There's no shortage. That's the best part about it.
Very well said. Chris, tell me, when you talk a little bit about confidence, obviously, again, I say that you have different levels of of people that are listening to you talk right now, just different levels. Some people starting out, some people in the middle of their journey, some people have gotten to the mountaintop, but they've fallen back. Some people are sitting at the top trying to get to the next level. So you got different levels, different ethnicities, different cultures all around the world that are listening in at this. Talk to us a little bit about confidence. How do you get your confidence? Where do you feel that confidence comes from, and how do you strengthen and build on confidence, and what role does confidence play in terms of mastery?
I like that question, Maz. Thanks, man. So confidence is an interesting question, and then I think you pose the question really well, because where does confidence come from? And, I've always been a big believer that confidence is something that comes from within, never from without. So if you think about, all the accolades and the awards and the different, we'll call it accoutrements, like the different symbols of success that are out there, whether it's a big house, fancy cars, whatever it is, big bank accounts, really all those things can go away, and you should still be able to be just as confident as if you had every single accomplishment in the world already achieved. So to answer your question, where does confidence really come from? Confidence to me really comes from understanding who you are and the value of who you are just for being you. So going back to my kids, right? One of the things that I believe is a very important thing for children as well as for adults, we'll just say for humanity in general, is how we speak to ourselves. And I'm sure there are moments where, we've all kind of maybe dropped a glass dish on the floor or something broken, and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot, or oh my gosh, whatever. And you basically degrade yourself in some way. And what I try to teach my children is that there's nothing that they could ever do that would make them any less wonderful than they already are right now. Right? And I believe that wholeheartedly. And for myself, equally, right? There's nothing that I could ever do that would ever change how amazing I am with who I've become. And 20 years ago, there's nothing that I could ever do that would change how amazing I already am. My ability to be wonderful or amazing is the same for everybody, and it's a constant throughout life. The big question is will people awaken themselves to how wonderful they already are? Right? That's the big question. Once they do that, man, I'm telling you, it's a freeing experience, because you stop caring about what anybody else thinks about you, right? And it's not necessarily like, I don't care about that person over there. It's they have their opinions, and they're entitled to those things. But I know who I am. And as a result of knowing who I am, I can master or achieve anything that I desire in this life. All right? So it's just becoming aware of just how wonderful you are, in my opinion.
When did you feel that? When did you really begin to develop the confidence that you have now? When did you really feel like you had this confidence internally? If you were to go back and say, what age would you say?
It's interesting because I've had a lot of crazy experiences in my life. Like I mentioned, I grew up in Miami. My parents went through a really bad divorce when I was about 15 years old. And so you hear a lot of these voices around you, and you don't know what to believe anymore. And I think, throughout life, you kind of have these experiences that you take different things from. And I grew up surfing. That was one of the things I did growing up, was surfing. I remember there was this one time where I was big wave surfing. I dropped into this big wave, and it had basically I was in the wave. It was just tubed over on me. Not to sound too surfery here, but I was inside the wave, and I was riding the wave, and all of a sudden it closed down and it dumped me on the bottom of the seafloor, and it knocked my entire air out, right? And I had this experience as I'm there on the bottom of the seafloor, trying to get to the surface because I have no more air inside of me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can start to feel my lungs burning like crazy, and it, to the point where I was going to just start sucking in salt water, right, the seawater, and there was this voice inside of me that said, pull from your leash, right? And so I reached down for my leg, and I pulled on my leash, and my board was perpendicular to where I was. And so what that meant was I had become disoriented and hitting the bottom of the seafloor, and I was swimming along the seafloor thinking I was swimming up. I was actually swimming along the seafloor. And as I got to the surface, I kicked up, and as I got to the surface, took a deep breath of air in, grabbed my board, and I just kind of, hung onto my board there in the ocean. I just had this feeling like, oh my gosh, like I could have really just died right there. And yet I didn't. I'm here to do something important for me, not for anybody else. In that moment, there wasn't anybody else around me, right? I was in the ocean by myself pretty much. But I was there to do something important for me. And so at that age, I think I was like 17 years old, I started to recognize some things in myself that, okay, all right, well, what are some of the things that I could be doing differently to realize who I am? And again, like, the voices that are around us, a lot of times we give our power to those voices, whether it's our parents, our loved ones, spouses, bosses, whatever, coworkers, whoever it is. And I started to take my power back over the last, what I would call 30 years, almost 30 years, to where my confidence is my own, right? It's not that my mom's belief in me that one day I'm going to grow up to be this great person. It's really, I already am a great person, right? So, and we all have experiences like that where, perhaps it's not swimming along the bottom of the seafloor, but we have a moment of clarity where really, like, it gets distilled down for us in a way that we can understand it, or you can understand it individually, where you know that you're here to do something important for you. All right? Not for the rest of the world, but just for you. And that can look like however you want it to look. So there you go.
Got it. No, that was great. Chris, talk a little bit about rhythm. You know what I mean? You talk about confidence, but then talk about in terms of, winning, in terms of being successful at anything. Where does rhythm come into play? And that's why I asked you about your habits. And obviously you could say that, you pray, you meditate every day. That obviously creates a rhythm. You stay positive. That creates a rhythm. Talk to us a little bit about your perspective of how mastery and rhythm, how those two kind of play a role together.
It's an interesting question. So I have a little bit of a different perspective on it. And I have a lot of people who will ask me, here it is, Chris, like, you're this ultra successful guy. How did you do it, man? My family, they immigrated from Argentina, so to the U.S., and I'm first generation American. I live in London, actually, which is ironic, but the odds were not in my favor. I grew up lower middle class, broken home, all these different things, right, where I should not be statistically where I'm at today. So people will say, how did you do it? How did you overcome the odds? And I tell them that I gave up trying to define what winning looked like for somebody else, right? So for maybe a lot of people, it's, making that first $1 million. Well, I'm here to tell you, as I'm sure any millionaire will, when you make that $1 million, it's like, all right, pat on the back, nice steak dinner, this is great. And then it's like, well, what's next? If I'm capable of doing this, what's next? And so for me, winning isn't necessarily like a scorecard of how much money I get to have in the bank or what type of experiences I get to have. Those things are consequences of the perspective that I have on just how I conduct myself on a day-to-day basis, which goes back to your point on mastery. And so mastery to me, when we talk about winning, it's more of what you have your focus on. My focus from a rhythm perspective is how do I bring value to every single customer, vendor, employee, etc., that I'm going to interact with, right? Because that's really what it's all about. We all want something, right? Like, so once we kind of peel back what that actually is, now I can help you get what you want, and you can help me get what I want, right? It becomes a much more simpler conversation. And I like simple because I just like to be at peace, like I mentioned before, all the hysteria and things that come along with trying to do big profile deals. And we've done massive amount of transactions. I've dined with royalty. I've done all the things you could probably think about doing, and it doesn't really matter, right, for me, only because when I think about winning, it's was I able to give somebody back the value that they expected, even better, was I able to exceed that expectation? Right? And so that's the rhythm that I try and live by every single day as I think about, where do I take the business from here? What do we do tomorrow? Well, all right. How do we add more value? How do we help people get what they need? And that's really where my thoughts are centered all the time. You know, how do we get them more value? Maz, you still there, buddy?
I was talking. I was giving you my best stuff. I thought you could hear me. Sorry about that. Anyway, what I was saying is I've got two more questions before we end. The first one being adversity. Talk a little bit about adversity. I know that by many people's definition, Chris, you're at the top of the hill. That's by other people's definition. I'm sure you don't listen to other people, but how would you answer the question about adversity? When adversity comes your way, how are you handling it? How do you tie in adversity to mastery? Because I know a lot of people, they start off with great goals and great ambition, and then adversity comes, and it could be a health catastrophe, it could be a divorce, it could be financial ruins, it could be a gamut of things. And some kind of way the adversity takes them out of the game. I want to hear your perspective about, do you eat adversity for breakfast, or what's your viewpoint how adversity has helped you in the area of becoming a master builder?
Oh, yeah, so I like this question too. So, you know, going back to what I was saying before, when a lot of people ask me, like, what does it take to succeed? Sometimes one of the very first questions I'll ask them is how comfortable they are with failure. And, well, look, man, I mean, a lot of people will say, oh, I can't fail. Like, that's just not in the cards for me. You know, like, this has to work. And I tell people that, listen, success and failure exist on the same plane at the same time, right? Failure is just one way not to do something for you to get what you want. All right, so if every single time you fail, you're going to shut the door on your own successes, you're not going to get there. You're not going to get there. You can't. So I'll back this up. When I started up my very first company, you know, there's a saying that necessity is the mother of all invention, right? And at that point in my life, I mean, I was busted broke. I was in college. I actually used student loans of all things to start my first business. And I mean, it was hard. It was so hard. And I had my parents and my friends just telling me, you know, hey man, just, you know, go get a job somewhere. Like, don't do this. Like, you're killing yourself, putting in like crazy hours. You have no social life. You're supposed to be having fun in school. This was college. And I was going to school full time. I was obviously working, you know, 15-hour days plus going to school and trying to have a social life in between all that. And there are moments. I mean, honestly, there are moments where, you know, the desire to give up was there. And I just remember thinking to myself, gosh, okay, well, I could do that. I could give up, but how close am I to actually achieving what I really want to experience? I'll never know unless I keep going. Don't sell yourself short. That's probably the best thing I can tell you, because adversity will always be there. It's the contrast that helps us know that, man, I don't want that life. I want this other life over here. Contrast helps you get super focused, really clear on what you want to achieve in your life. Contrast is also called adversity. So adversity helps you get really clear on what you want for your life. And so as you have adversity pop up, know that you're on the right track, because it's helping you get really clear on what you really want to experience, right? And just stay focused on what you really want to experience. And again, like, failures, you know, we learn all the time in our business today. We learn all the time from failing. We fail every single day. And the culture that we try to create within our business now is to be fast at failing, right? Let's fail fast, right? Let's learn from it. Let's apply the learning. Let's keep going forward, right? Because eventually you're gonna stumble into something that's really gonna, you know, have some horsepower behind it, and you're gonna be able to take that to the moon and beyond if you want. but you got to keep going, and you got to take that adversity for what it is. It's not what your future is. It's just a signpost along the way that says, hey, it doesn't work this way, try another way. And it'll start working. Take some learning, try another way, and go. Just a signpost. It's not the final destination.
Just a signpost. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Chris, this is my last question, and then after this question, I want to just give the floor to you for anything that you may feel that's on your heart that you want to share with all of these people all around the world that will listen to you live and listen to the replay. But the last question I have for you is I'm going to ask you to do this for me as a favor. Chris, I know you personally. I love you. I like you and your family a lot. And I know that in my years of knowing you, you don't love to talk and gloat about yourself. I know that that's not your style. I get it. But I'm asking you in advance to please do this for me. Please do this for me. And that is when we're talking about mastery, and I believe that each and every single person that's listening, every single person, we all have something very unique inside of us. We all are special in our own way. And as you talked about earlier on the call, don't listen to the naysayers, because if you listen to social media and you compare yourself against others, you'll quickly find out, man, I'm behind everybody. I must not be so special. So my question to you, as we talk about special, I want you to tell us, in terms of, you know where you are in life with your relationship, your health, your money, your philanthropy. You know what you got going on, Chris. Talk to us now. You're in your early 40s, and you look back over your young life. What would you say Chris Scanlon's special sauce is? Now, you may have already answered this already, but I'd like for you just to really give us, from your perspective, what's the thing that makes you uniquely different than perhaps your competition, others that are trying to get up the same mountain that you're climbing? What's your special sauce?
Man, we don't really give up the special sauce because that's what makes it special, Ramasio. Come on now. But here's what I would just share is this. I think that, again, I mean, in transparency, right? Like there are no secrets, right? There's no magical, wand that you can wave and now all of a sudden you're this great contributor. It takes time. Give yourself that time to achieve the great things that you want to label as great. And I do this every single day. So, I'll share with you on a very personal note, like my goal for me personally is to become a mega billionaire, right? So that's what I feel is on the horizon for me. Right? And that might not be the same goal for everybody else, and that's okay, right? And I'm pretty confident I'm going to get there. But like I mentioned before, I think the one consistent thing behind that is, and I want to say this with as much clarity as I can, is that you have to focus on what you want in life, not what you don't want, right? A lot of times if you think about how you talk to yourself inside, you think, oh, I don't want that to happen to me. Change your words around. What do you want to have happen? Say, I want to experience this. I want to be that. I want to do this. I want to have that. Change your words and you will change your life. Your words will allow you to experience different emotions, and your emotions will allow you to track different experiences. It's so powerful, right? So focus on what you want to experience in life. And, people tell me all the time, man, I had this one guy who I was sitting down with for lunch not too long ago, and he was just kind of saying, man, this feels like your business is an extension of, like, who you are. And I said, well, isn't that how it should be? Like, business is me, right? And what people get to experience is me. And, that's the level of transparency that we come to. And, we often tell people that we operate in a world of transparency because we're a fully regulated business. And, there's a lot of things that come with Big Brother peering over your shoulder all the time. But there's nothing wrong with that, and so we embrace that. And what I would just say is just have people stay focused on the things that they want to experience and to be very mindful of the words that they use to describe themselves and the experiences that they want to have. Not the experiences they don't want, but the experiences they want to have. To me, that's been a very, what I would call, secret sauce to mastery, because, again, like that little shift, it's subtle. It is super subtle. But that little shift to talking about what you want versus what you don't want. Focus on what you want. Talk about what you want. Let that be the words that come out of your mouth. Let that be the words that come from within. When you have that inner dialogue, you'll see big changes that happen in your life to you getting to that place where you want to be that much faster.
Change your words, change your life. I love it, brother. I love it. Well, Chris, tell us, man, is there anything that's on your heart that you feel maybe I didn't ask that maybe you want to share with all these folks about mastery? Is there anything that we left out?
You know, I don't know if we left it out, but the one thing I would just echo is be patient with yourself and love yourself through the process. You know, it's not a sprint by any means, and there's no such thing as what I would call like a you know, a set time that you're supposed to achieve what you want to achieve in your life. It's your life. It's your script. You can write it, and you should write it. So write it. You know, and again, there's no time frame around it. Give yourself the time. There's no pressure unless you put it on yourself. So just be patient and loving with yourself, and you'll get all the things that you want in life. I think you're on mute again, brother.
Thank you so much, Chris, for actually staying up late and doing this for me, brother. I really appreciate it, man. And if there's anything I can do to return the favor, please, you know, don't be shy to let me know. But for all of you that are listening, guys, I'll tell you that I am a happy customer of Chris's business. As we talked about the Nevada Bank, the Aura Lifestyle, we talked about the gold card that he has. I love my gold card. It is absolutely sick in a good way. It's absolutely incredible. And so for those of you that want to learn more about that product, on how to have your own customized banking situation that's overseas in London, I'll leave that up to you and Chris to have a conversation, and I don't need to be involved, and you guys can learn more about that if you want. If people want to learn more about your services, what you offer, what you do, and how, if there's some type of synergy, where do people find you at, Chris? What's a website you'd recommend, or a contact, however you want to do that we can shuttle people to?
Yeah, I'd say there's two different spots, Miles. I mean, like, number one would be auralifestyle.com, and then the other one would be clubswan.com. So either one of those two, and people can kind of get a sense and a flavor for what we're all about.
Cool. Aura, spell Aura. I mean, most people know how to spell it except me, but it's, what is it, spell it, Chris?
AURAE lifestyle.com.
Yeah, and guys, when you go to that website, I promise you your jaws will drop. Every time I use my debit card anywhere in the world, people are like, oh, my God, what is this? It's just, and it's not just the debit card. It's the whole experience. It's all the other things that I'll let Chris and his team tell you guys about. But I'm just really proud to know you, Chris. You're an awesome human being, man. I love the integrity that you walk in, and may God's blessings continue to follow you and rain on you, everything you touch and everywhere you go. I love you, man. Thanks for jumping on, helping us give back to the world. Thanks a lot, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Anytime, I'll take care, man.
You got it. Well, boom, guys. There you go. If you don't know, now you know. What we make happen for others, God will gladly make happen for us. There you have it. We just wrapping up the fifth part of I Am a Master Builder with none other than Chris Scanlon out of London. So, guys, we will upload this call to the website. You can listen at the replay as much as you want. And I will see you guys all back here next Sunday. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye.